Backslide II, Covenant of Fire by Alan T. Cunningham. Chapter 1, Ashes in the Veins. Boston, 3 weeks later. The fire hadn't left her. It lingered in her blood, a slow burn beneath the skin, a second pulse that beat when her own faltered. Mary Porter stared at her palm in the glow of her desk lamp, the faint trace of the sigil still etched there like scar tissue. She told Samuel it had faded, that the battle in the pub had cost her more than it gave. But that was a lie. The flame hadn't faded, it had grown. The city outside her Beacon Hill apartment hummed with life, oblivious. But Mary heard echoes no one else did, voices bleeding through the centuries, whispering warnings in dead tongues. One voice cut sharper than the rest. Patrick. She closed her eyes and saw him as he'd been in dairy black coat, blood on his knuckles, fire in his grin. But the dream always shifted. The coat darkened into robes, his grin into a blade, and the name was Patrick. It was the one she remembered from Fire and Steak. The betrayer. Her phone buzzed, a message from Reuben. You need to come, Samuel's gone. Chapter 2, The Black Flame. Reuben's face was pale when she reached the office. He pushed a laptop across the table without a word. The video was grainy, surveillance feed from a subway station. Samuel stood in the frame, shoulders hunched, eyes darting. A group of figures in dark coats closed around him. They didn't touch him, not exactly, but something passed between them, gestures, words Mary couldn't hear. Then Samuel followed them willingly into the tunnel. Who are they? Mary whispered. Reuben's throat worked. They call themselves Custodians Nigri Flammy, the Black Flame, a splinter faction of the Custodians. I found chatter on encrypted boards. They believe betrayal is sacred, that it purifies the covenant. Mary felt her stomach twist. They're trying to turn him. Reuben nodded, and from the look of it, he's already listening. The sigil in her palm burned hot. Chapter 3, The Betrayer's Kiss. She found him in the fog. The Old North Church loomed above her, its spire a shadow against the night sky. He stepped from the mist like he always had, too casual, too sure, as if death itself had bent to let him through. Patrick. Still chasing ghosts, he said, that crooked smile pulling at his mouth. Or is it me you're chasing? Mary froze, heart hammering. Where, Samuel? Safe for now. His eyes flicked to her hand. The flame burns brighter in you than it ever did in me. That's why they want him, because he doubts. Doubt feeds the fire. Her fists clenched. Why are you helping them? Patrick stepped closer, close enough she caught the trace of whiskey and smoke on his breath. I'm not helping them. I'm helping you. You just can't see it yet. His hand brushed hers, and the sigil flared between them, golden light searing the fog. Mary jerked back, breath ragged. You betrayed me once, I won't let you do it again. Patrick's voice dropped, soft and intimate, cutting her deeper than any blade. You don't remember the truth, Mary. You think I betrayed you, but it was you who betrayed me. The words hollowed her, left the night spinning, because part of her knew he might be right. Chapter 4, Splintered Faith. Reuben's office smelled of dust and ink, the walls littered with maps, sketches of symbols, fragments of old parchment pinned under glass. Mary paced while Reuben adjusted his glasses, muttering as he scrolled. The Black Flame doesn't just splinter from the Custodians, he said. They've rewritten the covenant itself. In their creed, betrayal isn't the wound, it's the weapon. Mary stopped cold. They think betrayal is holy. Reuben nodded. Sacred, necessary. They believe every flame-bearer must be betrayed again and again to keep the covenant alive. Her chest tightened, and Samuel. They'll force him to betray you, or convince him you've already betrayed him. Mary pressed her palms to the table, fighting the burn in her blood. Then they'll fail. But even as she said it, she felt the tremor of doubt. Chapter 5, Letters in the Ash. The package arrived at dawn. No return address. Inside, a bundle of parchment, edges brittle with age. Written in Latin, the script was hurried, smudged, as if scrawled in fear. Mary recognized the name on the first page. Her own. The letter was centuries old, her hand, her ink, her plea to someone she could not see. It spoke of fire, of blood, of betrayal by a man she loved. And in the final line, the words cut deeper than the paper itself. If he lives, the covenant burns. If he dies, so do I. Mary dropped the letter, heart racing. Patrick's voice echoed behind her, though he wasn't there. You think I betrayed you, but it was you who betrayed me. The past wasn't dead. It was waiting in the ashes, whispering through time. Chapter 6, The Circle of Trust. She found Samuel in a candle-lit crypt beneath Dorchester. He was kneeling among figures in black coats, their faces shadowed. The black flame. Samuel's eyes were strange, fevered, alive with something between faith and rage. Mary, he said softly, almost tender. They've shown me the truth. The Custodians kept us chained, but the black flame offers freedom. No lies, no hiding, only fire. Mary's throat closed. They'll twist you. They'll use you to destroy everything. Samuel rose, stepping closer, voice trembling with conviction. Or maybe they'll use me to destroy you. Isn't that what the flame demands? That every bond is broken, every trust burned away. Behind him, one of the robed figures shifted. For a moment Mary thought she recognized the stance, the tilt of the head. Patrick, watching from the shadows. And smiling. Chapter 7, The Enemy's Hand. Mary waited in the rain outside the crypt. She should have walked away, called Reuben, raised the Custodians, but instinct told her not to. And then Patrick stepped from the shadows. You're following them wrong, he said, pulling his collar tight against the storm. The black flame doesn't march in lines. They bleed through cracks. You'll lose him if you try to fight them head-on. Mary spun, fury flashing. You watched them take him, you smiled. Patrick's grin tilted, bitter. Because I've seen this before. You think Samuel's slipping away? He's already halfway gone. They'll whisper to him until he can't tell your voice from theirs. And when the moment comes, he'll do what every flame bearer must do, betray. She wanted to strike him, wanted to drag the truth out of him by force. But when his hand brushed hers, the sigil on her palm flared again, alive with something too powerful to deny. Help me get him back, she said through clenched teeth. Patrick leaned closer, eyes glinting. Or help me burn him before he takes you with him. Chapter 8, Prague. The trail led to Prague, where whispers of the black flame stretched back centuries. Reuben sent them manuscripts copied from a 15th century monastery, records of a circle of betrayers who had carried the flame across Europe like contraband. Mary and Patrick crossed the Charles Bridge at midnight, the city glittering with rain and reflected firelight. You remember this place, don't you? Patrick asked. Mary shook her head. He smiled. Not in this life, but once. You and I walked these stones together, chasing the covenant. Fragments of memory flickered, torches, the clang of steel, Patrick's hand gripping hers as they fled through shadows. She didn't know if it was true or just another manipulation. Inside the monastery ruins, they found a circle of symbols carved into the stone floor. 12 flames, each crossed by a blade. At the center, a phrase Mary's blood seemed to recognize before her mind did. Ignes in perdition nascitur. The fire is born in betrayal, she whispered. Patrick's voice was low at her ear. Now you understand. Chapter 9, The Mask of Samuel. They found him in a Prague cellar lit by candle and smoke. Samuel stood with the black flame, robed and hooded, chanting in a tongue Mary half recognized from the covenant texts. When he saw her, he faltered. For a moment his eyes were his own. Mary. She stepped forward, hand outstretched. Come back with me. Whatever they've told you, it's a lie. Patrick stood at her side, silent, watching. Samuel's jaw clenched. His voice broke. They showed me the letter, your letter from the past. You betrayed him, Mary. You betrayed all of us. The circle of the black flame roared, the chant swelling. Samuel raised his hand, and fire coiled between his fingers, untamed, violent. For the first time, Mary felt afraid of him. And for the first time, she wondered if Patrick was right. Chapter 10, The Shattered Circle. The cellar burned. Mary hadn't seen Samuel lose control before. The fire that erupted from his hands wasn't the clean, golden flame of the covenant. It was jagged, violent, black-edged like a wound torn open. The black flames scattered, chanting louder, feeding on his fury. "Samuel, stop," Mary cried, forcing her way through the heat. Patrick yanked her back just as the ceiling cracked. "He doesn't hear you, he only hears them." "Then make him hear me." Patrick's eyes flared with something like pity. "That's not how this ends." Samuel's gaze locked on her. For a heartbeat, his face softened, almost pleading. Then the fire lashed out and the stone floor split between them. Chapter 11, Ash and Memory. They barely escaped with their lives. The monastery ruins smoldered behind them, smoke curling into the dawn sky. Mary staggered, breath ragged, palms blistered from the heat. Patrick caught her as she stumbled. His touch steadied her and unlocked something deeper. A memory. Not Boston, not Prague. Another life. Another century. She saw herself in robes of white, standing in a hall lit with torches. Patrick at her side, younger, harder, his hand gripping hers. Samuel was there too, or someone who bore his face, kneeling at their feet with chains around his wrists. Her own voice echoed through her skull. "He must betray you, or the covenant fails." Mary tore herself free, gasping. The world spun, present colliding with past. "I betrayed him," she whispered. "I betrayed both of them." Patrick's eyes searched hers, unreadable. "Now you see why none of this is simple." Chapter 12, The Choice of Knives. That night, in a crumbling flat above the vault of a river, Patrick laid out 2 knives on the table. Old steel, their blades inscribed with the sigil of the flame. "One to kill him," Patrick said. "One to save him, but you can't know which is which." Mary stared at the knives, her hands trembling. "You want me to choose?" Patrick leaned closer, his voice low, intimate. "You've already chosen once. Long ago, you chose to betray me, to betray us both. This time you have a chance to undo it." Her throat tightened. "And if I choose wrong?" Patrick smiled, soft and merciless. "Then the covenant burns, just like it was meant to." The rain battered the windows, and Mary realized. The real fire was Samuel's fury or Patrick's schemes. It was the choice burning inside her. Chapter 13, The Betrayer's Trial. The black flame gathered in an abandoned theater on the outskirts of Prague, rows of velvet seats rotting, chandeliers swaying in the draft. Mary stood in the center of the stage, flanked by Patrick on one side, Samuel on the other. The cult demanded a trial, not of faith, but of fire. Samuel's voice shook as he spoke, but his eyes were locked on Mary. "She betrayed us once. She will do it again. The covenant demands it." Patrick smirked, the shadows carving his face sharper. "Or maybe betrayal is the only way we're ever free." The black flame roared in approval, their chants filling the theater with thunder. Mary felt the knives in her hands, one to kill, one to save, and realized the truth. They were Patrick's test. They were the covenant. Chapter 14, The Fire Between Them. The trial erupted into chaos. Samuel unleashed his corrupted flame, black fire ripping across the stage. Patrick countered with a blaze of gold, their powers clashing in a storm that set the theater ablaze. Mary stood between them, fire burning in both palms, her choice tearing at her soul. "Stop this," she screamed. "It isn't about who betrays who, it's about what we do after the betrayal." Samuel faltered, the fire flickering. "Mary." Patrick pressed closer, his hand gripping her wrist, fire pouring through the sigil they shared. "Then choose me, end this cycle." The memory struck her again. Torches, a hall, Samuel in chains. Her voice declaring the covenant. Betrayal not as curse, but as seed. Mary lifted both knives. One gleamed gold, one bled shadow. And she drove them both into the stage. The fire roared outward, swallowing Patrick and Samuel in the same breath. For a moment, all 3 of them were bound in the blaze, past and present colliding, betrayal and love inseparable. Chapter 15, Ashes of the Covenant. When the fire cleared, the theater was silent. The black flame fled into the night, their chants broken. Reuben found her hours later, standing amid the ashes. Patrick was gone, not dead, gone, as if the fire had swallowed him into another age, another life. Samuel lay unconscious at her feet, the black flame burned out of him, leaving only scars. He would live, but he would never be the same. Mary looked at her hands. The sigil was gone, the fire inside her quiet but not extinguished. "Is it over?" Reuben asked softly. Mary shook her head. "No, the covenant isn't broken. It's only begun again." Epilogue: The Letter of Rome. Months later, Mary sat in a cafe in Rome, the autumn light falling golden through the windows. Samuel was recovering somewhere safe. Reuben worked still, chasing fragments of the path. Mary had chosen silence, but silence didn't choose her. The letter came folded in vellum, slipped under her door without a mark. She opened it with shaking hands. "You chose neither knife. You chose both. That is why you will always be mine." No signature. Only the faint trace of a sigil burned into the paper, one she knew too well. "Patrick." Mary closed her eyes, the noise of Rome fatting into the heartbeat of fire in her veins. Betrayal wasn't finished. It never would be.